everyone. That tune is recognized by many of you. I know. The tune and dance is Mr. Isaac's Maggot. It's a traditional tune, and the choreographer is from Playford, 1698. The band is the Bare Necessities. Musicians are Kate Barnes, Earl Gaddis, Mary Lee, Jacqueline Schwab. It's on the CD, Strong Roots, the English Country Dance Collection, Volume 9, and you can get it at the CDSS bookstore. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you tonight. I am Darlene Hamilton, and we are the Historical Tea and Dance Society. On our team, we have Lindsay Verbal assisting with the program, handling media and your questions and things like that. And on Zoom, we have Reed Wilson. He's monitoring Zoom for those questions, and he's doing postings. And then on Facebook Live, we have Larry Hansen doing the same, monitoring for questions and posting all the credits and things like that. So thank you, team. Thank you for being with us tonight. And do feel free to post questions when you have them. We are grabbing them. If we do not get to them in the web chat, we will have them in the after talk, and we save all of those. So we bring them on in. The after talk will get posted at the end of this web chat. However, if you signed up for the Zoom event, you will have already received that link. So make sure to use it. Stick around for the after talk because it is a lot of fun, and yeah, we're looking forward to it. Lots to talk about tonight. Liz is great. Thank you to Aaron. Thank you to Karen Axelrod for her concert and all her friends every Tuesday live on Facebook. Thank you, thank you. What a wonderful night. You know, it's always a great day when there's a Karen Axelrod and Friends concert. So I'm going to jump into that bio on Liz. She is one of our Canadian friends. We're so happy to have her with us. She helped found Village Green English Dancers in Winnipeg over 40 years ago. And ever since, she's been helping them grow and develop in many ways, which you will find out a lot about tonight. She started teaching English country dance in 1980, and she quickly became one of the Village Green's core callers. She eventually is helping to produce a dance manual, a teaching video, and a program for teacher development. Liz plays hammer dulcimer in the band Fine Companions, which creates live music for a wide range of the Village Green events. She choreographed her first dances in 1981 and has created many more since then, often composing the tunes as well. In 2010, Fine Companions released the CD Daisies in the Wind. Gosh, I love that title. Featuring Liz's dances, many to her own tunes. And then in 2016, the Flying Romanos recorded Dancing with Friends, which is a new album of Liz's dances and tunes to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Village Green. That's this group that she founded. So please welcome Liz Goossen. We're so happy to have you with us tonight. And I'm sure she's there somewhere. Liz? She's still with us. She's in here. She's in the room. Yay,
there I'm trying. I just don't know what buttons to push. Thank you. I was trying to push the little buttons up here. It wasn't working.
That's okay. You made it. And Canada is a long way away, so we're happy you're with us.
Thank you so much. For those of you who do not know me and don't know about Village Green, I'm a member of Village Green, which you've already heard Darlene say. I don't know, I would maybe hesitate to say that I helped found it. I was one of the founding members, but anyway, we will maybe get to more of that. And our group is in Winnipeg, which, if you don't know very much Canadian geography, is like right north of North Dakota. So we are in the middle of winter right now. And even having said that, we're very sad that we're not getting to go dancing even on a cold night. But anyway, that will change. So since Darlene contacted me, which is probably about 2 weeks ago, I've just been really busy and having fun. thinking about English country dance, thinking about Village Green, talking to fellow dancers, sorting through pictures, listening to music, all those kinds of things. So hopefully in the next hour, I will give you a sense of Village Green and my role in it. So what is it about English country dance that I'm still involved after 45 years? And so that first thing leads us to thing number one.
Thing number one.
Thing number one.
Of course.
Connection.
Connection.
So, you know, there are so many connections and they're all interwoven. So you have to start somewhere. And so I've chosen just to start looking at the connection of dancers to the music. And for me, I guess the music is such a critical part. The music, it drives the dance. So, well, if you just listen to Mr. Isaac's Maggot, which is just such an incredible tune, it's very flowing, it's very strong, it's very elegant. So that's one example of the kind of music, but there's so much more. Music could be sprightly, it could be hand clapping and toe tapping, it could be bouncy. So those are all things, you know, the music is, after 45 years, I'm still not tired of it. It's so amazingly beautiful. Anyway, so we're going to look at two videos right now. The first one, before Lindsay just brings them up, is the music for a video for Never Loved Thee More. And the second one is Picking Up Sticks. So the first one, the music is much more elegant. It's much smoother. And the second one, Picking Up Sticks, it's much livelier, it's much brighter. And we're just going to look at a little bit of each of those, looking at the up a double and back figure. Thank you, Lindsay.
Up a double. Back to back, right shoulder.
Great, thank you. So you can see the difference in how people are moving just because of the difference in the music. We also have two pictures, and they're still pictures, which of course it's much more difficult to get a sense of the music with a still picture. But I think both of these next pictures probably show that. The first one is in costume, and you'll see they're in a circle, and it's obviously a very lively dance. They're just picking up and ready to take off into that circle. So they're obviously very connected to the music at this, and this is at St. Norbert Market, and I'll talk more about that later in the talk. And the second picture is one we've danced in this hall. Unfortunately, we do not get to dance in this hall anymore. So I don't actually know for sure what this dance is, but you'll see how they're all connected to the music, and that it's, I would say, a much slower, more elegant music than the first picture of the circle. So that moves us along to the next thing that I want to talk about, the next connection, and that's the connection of dancers to each other. So how do dancers connect with each other? They use their hands, they use their eyes. And probably the strongest connection would be my partner and I, whoever my partner happens to be at that point in time. Or maybe there's a connection with more than one dancer. It might be with 3 other dancers if we're doing a hands across. So there's that really strong connection. But then let's say you're in a duple minor dance. So you've got the whole long set, everybody, every group of 4 dancing that same pattern that you're dancing. And so you develop this awareness of not only your group of 4, but all the other groups of 4, which is just so much a part of the joy of dancing for me, is that whole thing. And sometimes it even happens that if you have 2 sets or 3 sets, that it's not only you and your line, but it's the whole room. You're just all in sync together. And of course, it's absolute magic. So we're going to go back and take a look at those two same videos, Never Loved Thee More and Picking Up Sticks. And in both of them, whether the music is the elegant music or whether the music is the more sprightly music, you'll see at the beginning of that up a double and back figure, how the partners connect with each other, dance up, fall back, and again connect with each other before they dance up a double and back second time. So just look for that this time when you watch it. Thanks, Darlene.
Up a double. Back to back, right shoulder.
Great, thank you. And also in this one, before we decided we were going to show those videos, we had selected out pictures. So I'm going to show you a couple of pictures as well that of our group that show the connection. So this first picture, again, is a picture of the dance. Oh, it's this one. Okay. So here we are at Silver Heights again, and we're obviously in a circle. And I would say we were just doing a set and turn single, and you'll notice how much all the way around the circle, people are really connected with their partner. And of course, because it's just a picture, we're not getting that sense of the whole circle and being part of the whole thing, but I'm sure it was happening. And then the second picture, here we are again at the market. I think, not sure if it's the same people who were dancing before. And again, you see the connection between the dancers as they're maybe heading into the center and out. So for me, that's such an important part of dancing and what has kept me dancing for such a long time. And then the last thing, I guess, maybe in this connection part is thinking about the connection of the dancers and the musicians, if you're lucky enough to have musicians playing for you, to the caller. So I see the caller as the collaborator. The caller is the person who's bringing together the dance and the music and the dancers and the musicians. And so it's my job as a caller, or if I happen to be the caller, to put everybody at ease, to have them dance so that they go home feeling like, wow, that was such a wonderful evening. I had such a good time. So I have to plan the evening so that that happens. In order to do that, I need to be really clear in terms of my instructions so I don't create confusion. And that applies to your connection with both the dancers and with the musicians. Something that I've noticed in Winnipeg, we're up until this past year, we've just had recorded music that we use for our regular Wednesday dance. This year we were going to have musicians play for us, and of course that didn't last very long, but we will get back to it. And so even though, there's just amazing recordings out there now. They're fabulous. From when I first started, we were using records and we thought the music was great because we could dance to it. But now there's just so many fine recordings. But a recording is still not the same as having the musicians there playing for you. And I remember there was one time, a number of us, we drive down to Minneapolis fairly often to go to a dance workshop there, and they usually have fabulous bands, their own. They have many good musicians in Minneapolis, and often they would play, or sometimes there'd be a guest group. This particular time, there was a guest group. And those of us who had gone were just like, oh, wow, they're so good. We so enjoyed dancing to their playing. So they had CDs there. We bought a CD. We come back home. We're raving about, well, you have to dance to this music. It's just like so incredible. So I don't remember how long it was before we managed to get that CD playing, but we did. And it was good, but it wasn't the same. So if you think about it, like, why is it not the same? And I don't know what answers other people might have, but for me, the answer is because the musicians are not there. So you don't have the interaction between the musicians and the dancers. So there's a little piece missing there. But we're happy to dance to CDs. And we will be delighted when we get back to dancing and have musicians playing for us. So still moving into this connection, another part of this whole thing, which I think enhances the connection, all these connections, is phrasing. And I think last week, Gay talked about the same thing. She called it timing, but we're talking about the same thing. So it's knowing this is the figure and this is the music. So how am I going to fit all the steps that I have to that musical phrase? And so, it takes practice and it takes being observant. It takes listening. So, there's many things involved there. The other part of this as well is, I use the word dynamic. And so I look at the dynamic of a figure and the dynamic of a whole dance. And I think maybe Graham Christian was talking about this, and he was talking about the tension and release. So I think we're just using different words for the same thing. So if we take a look at, say, the dance Long Odds, it's a pretty straightforward dance. I'll just quickly review the figures, and then I'll talk about how I see the shape of the dance and the ebb and the flow. So the first half of the dance is very symmetric. We have first phrase, dancing couple, they set to each other, they change places, giving right hands. And so they have 4 bars of music for that. Then we get this strong left hand turn, 1.5 with your neighbor, finish facing that neighbor, ready to dance the same pattern again with your neighbor. Set, change places, giving right hands, and then ones only, that strong turn. Then the ones have a solo. Down the middle they go, back, up, cast off, choose dance up, and then into the poussette. So if you look at the figures, if you look at the structure of the dance, at the beginning, the first half, we have this calm, quiet, easy, lots of time, set, right hands to change places, and then a very dynamic, strong left hand turn. Then that pattern repeats. And then we go down the middle, home in a hurry. So there you have a change in dynamic. You're going down. And here's something to think about as you're going down the middle. Who is your partner? How energetically does your partner want to dance? So that part can change dramatically depending on the group of dancers who are in the room that night. It might be a very sedate, down the middle, turn around and home, hoping I get home in time. So you have to get home in time that the twos can come in, they dance up, stay together, one's cast, come together, and then you have the poussette, which is relaxed. So that's looking at the ebb and flow of the dance as a whole. If you look at the figures themselves, you've got that right-hand turn, which is just turn half. So that's very easy. Give hands, tension, just a little bit of tension and go. Then you have that left-hand turn. And a turn like that, 1.5, I like it to be really, really strong to start so that you can control the end of it. And then I remember Bruce Hamilton actually was here for a workshop one time, and he actually taught Long Odds. And he said, okay, so you have to time that left-hand turn, 1.5, so that you just, there's the setting. And when that happens, it's fabulous. Same thing coming home. Down the middle, up and cast off, of course, is a very, the dynamics of that are down, up, strongly, and make sure here that you're thinking about not only you and your partner, but you're thinking about that second couple, because you have to get past that second couple in order for them to be able to come in, dance up, and be ready for that poussette. And even the poussette itself, you might think, well, the poussette is in some ways a pretty static figure. It's away from the center and back, and it's away from the center and back. But for me, it's not all exactly the same. It's away and then back to the center, and away and back to the center. So there's so much going on in just a simple dance. And then of course, there's the music. So when all that happens and all that comes together, yeah, magic, it happens. So that brings us to point number
Thing
two.
number two.
Thing number two.
Balance.
Balance. So it's going to take me a couple of minutes to get to that word. One of the joys of English country dancing, and I think we've probably already touched on it a little bit, is just the incredible variety. There's the variety of the musical styles, of the melodies themselves, of the dance form, of the degree of difficulty. Some are very straightforward, some are much more complex. Then there's the old and the new. So there's lots and lots of things to think about. For those of you who did not manage to hear David Millstone, you might want to go back to his talk as well. He actually had Lindsay play, I think it was 13 different little snippets of music. So that if you didn't know how much variety of musical styles, go back and listen to that and you will find out. Now, as a dancer, I just enjoy all the variety, but it's as a teacher, as a caller, that I want to think about balance. So, and for me, as a caller, there's a difference between here we meet and we know who, you know, every week, Wednesday, September through April, we don't have the same people all the time, but you have a core of the same people and other people coming in. So you pretty much know who that group is going to be. And so we actually have 5 different callers here. And so you don't get to call the whole time. So if I had a block, I would be like, well, okay, so what do I want to do in that block? And generally within each week, I would be wanting to start with a warm-up dance to warm up our brains, warm up our bodies. And then I would likely move to something that was more complex, that was newer, maybe review something we worked on the week before that was more complex, and then finish up the evening with 2 or 3 dances that are straightforward or very well known, so that people go home feeling that they've danced a lot. And within all of that, of course, I'm wanting to balance old and new, fast and slow. How hard is it? So all those things are looked at for every week. Then if I look at a social evening, so generally, I mean, I would start with the music. And also I would start with the fact that I would know for my group, so the importance of knowing who is going to be there is really important. I would want to be including dances that were familiar to them. And probably in the weeks leading up to the social, once I decided on the program, if there were some new ones, then we would be working on those, because on the evening, it's just like, here's the program, let's just dance. So because there's a group of us here and we all love each other dearly, we get on really well, we have fabulous times together. So we have decided for a social evening program, we basically divide it into thirds in terms of degree of difficulty, because we want the evening to be accessible for everybody in our group. And the thirds are not equal, so it's not really thirds, but we sort of say it's thirds. And so we have a big third of the program that are very well-known, straightforward dances. Then we have another middle third that probably is pretty much a third that we sort of say, well, these are more intermediate dances. And then we have a last third, small third of something that's more difficult. So that's kind of how we have come to terms with getting this program that we know is going to work for the people in our group. And this whole now, because we have such an incredible body of new dances. You know, when I started dancing, there just wasn't this proliferation of new dances. Plus, because we were using recordings, there were not recordings even of a lot of dances. So we did dance the same dances a lot, but you know, we didn't get tired of them. And we danced them enough that they were very familiar. So the music would come on and go, oh, I know that dance. So as a group of teachers here a number of years ago, I'm really bad with dates, I would think it would be at least 6 or 7, we decided what we were going to do would be every year to have what we called focus dances. And so we would select a group of probably about 8 dances with the plan that throughout the year, we would focus on those dances so that by the end of that year, people would hear the music and go, oh, I know that dance. So that, of course, built into the evening of our social evening programs, we, of course, would include some of the dances from that focus dance list. And I kind of think about that. I was thinking about that today. So it's like, you know, when you get together with an old friend, you're just really comfortable with each other. You love being together and you have a really good time. And then when you get together with someone who's a new friend, there's a different feel. There's a different kind of excitement. So you want both. And so we want to have our dancers dancing some dances enough so that they're like an old friend. And then we, in an evening, would have a mix of old friends and new friends. I think we're just like ready to move on. So,
Big
you know,
number 3.
yeah, go ahead.
Choreography.
So because I've been dancing for now 45 years. And if I hadn't expanded into other realms, if I had stayed as a dancer, who knows whether I'd still be dancing, but my role has changed. Obviously I started as a dancer and then I got into the teaching. And then I just have that kind of brain. It seems like when I hear music, I have figures dancing around in my head, doing things. And so devising dances seemed like a pretty natural thing for me to do. The first, I think this is the first, I'm not really sure, but the first one that I think that I've really recorded, our first ever weekend workshop was in 1981 with Pat Talbot. And I decided I would write a Canadian trilogy. So I wrote 3 dances. One's a 2-couple dance, one's a 4-couple long ways dance, and one is a square. And the music I chose at that point were Canadian folk tunes. So, and then probably for the next 25 years, that just sounds pretty awful when you say that, for the next 25 years. Anyway, I wrote dances for primarily people in the group when they were getting married, having birthdays, having anniversaries. Generally, it was an occasion that would inspire me to write something. And I guess at that point in time, because I wasn't writing, I wasn't composing music, I sometimes I think would have an idea in terms of, I know that this person likes this particular figure. So I'd have that figure, and sometimes a whole dance would come together around that figure. And then of course I'd have the job of trying to find some music that worked with those figures. And for me, I would be hunting for music that was not well-known music, because for me to pick, say if I were to pick, say Child Grove and devise a dance to that music, it just wouldn't work for me, because Child Grove is Child Grove and the music and the figures just go together. Or Mr. Isaac's Maggot, how could you dance anything to Mr. Isaac's Maggot aside from Mr. Isaac's Maggot? So and that's, I think, another whole skill is to find some music that works for the dance that you've created. And then I guess that brings us to the first Daisies in the Wind book. So our group was celebrating its 30th anniversary. And Jeannie Gilbert, who's also one of our teachers' scholars, was the chair of the ball that year. And she's called me up one day and said, Liz, so do you think that you could write 3 dances, one for every decade? And I'm going, oh, sure. And the theme for the ball was pearls of wisdom. And, so she's going, yeah, so, you have to think about gates and that sort of thing. So actually you will find, if you look at the dances that are in the back, that book, there are quite a number of dances actually with a gate in them. And that was probably why, because of the pearls of wisdom. Anyway, the floodgates actually just opened up. So this was probably January. The ball was in April. And I don't know, I just had all these ideas and I ended up creating 20 dances. It was just like, whoa, wow, yeah. And for some reason, this thought popped into my head that maybe I should write some music, because one of the dances was for, there were 2 dances. We had 2 co-founders. And so I was writing one for each of them. And then the third one was going to be for Village Green as a whole. So I thought, well, those 3 for sure need to have music. And then it was like, once I got started, it just kept going. But I didn't start this writing tunes until February. So yeah, I only had so much time. I think I ended up at that point in time writing 12 tunes. And then our group of dancers, like, they're so accommodating. We actually got together. And at some point I sort of said, well, maybe we should publish a book, which I'd never said before. And everybody said, sure, good idea, yes. And once it was said, it sounded like, oh, now it's out there. It's been said out loud. It has to happen. So we did get together. We danced through the dances. And I guess we actually had given people pieces of paper. I'm just thinking about this now. And so I would call a dance, and then they would scurry off and write comments about that dance and what they liked and what they thought didn't work and that sort of thing. So we did that actually for all 20 dances. And it did actually get published in time for the ball. I recall, maybe someone could say, no, actually it didn't, but I think it did. So, we're supposed to be having pictures. Yeah, that's what I wasn't sure if you were trying to tell me something or not. So I guess because at that point in time, we hadn't got to the CD part of it yet. The CD part came a little bit later. And so a little bit later, it was probably a couple of years later. It was like, well, maybe we should have a CD to go with this book. And at that time, our group of musicians were the Fine Companions. So here we are with pictures of the Fine Companions. And this was actually, this is St. Andrew's United Church, which is not very far from where I live. So we did part of the recording in the church. It was a beautiful space. It was just great. And here's a closer up picture of all of us who were in the group at that point in time. So this was in 2010. Actually, this was in 2011. We started the recording in 2010, and we did the second half of it in 2011 because Barry, who's the cellist, he and his wife had actually moved to Victoria, so we couldn't finish it all. We got about half of it done, and then he was gone, but he promised he would come back. So he came back the following year, and we finished off the recording the following year. So at that point in time, that was the group who was, so I don't know, do I have time to talk about Fine Companions a little bit here? Yep, okay. So it had been many years before that. I don't remember if it was a workshop or if it was a social evening. And I had a friend who had a hammered dulcimer. And I thought, well, maybe I could learn how to play this. So he loaned me his hammered dulcimer and he played guitar. And I'm trying to remember if Sherman played with us at that point or not. He was a music teacher and was very musical, played recorder. I think he might have played with us. Anyway, so I think we played 3 pieces at this particular, we had a Kaylee, so it was maybe a workshop. And after that, Sherman says, you know, you guys should be playing for dancing. Oh, really? Okay. So that next Christmas, we played, I think, about 6 dances, and then the band just grew from there. So once we had, I think at that point, there were 3 of us, and the band grew to that number of 8 by the time we got to 2010, actually probably 8 before that. So we've had people come and go, and at the moment, we're probably in a point of transition. So once the band had sort of said, yes, let's do a CD, everybody started working really hard. People started writing counter melodies and doing arrangements of the tunes, that sort of thing. And this leads to what happened in the fall of 2008. There were 3 of us and we were all dancers, decided we would go to New York. One of the members actually had lived in New York many years before that for a period of something like 5 years. And so she was going to be our tour guide. Well, if you go to New York and you're an English country dancer, what do you have to do? You have to go dancing, of course. So we went dancing, and who was there playing but the Flying Romanos? So we came home and said, we have to have these guys come to Winnipeg. So we can maybe talk about this next part in the after talk, because at that point it's like, how are we going to afford to bring, 3 musicians to Winnipeg for a workshop and have them play all weekend? So I'll just say very quickly, what we did was have an auction. And so that allowed it to happen. We had money to make it happen. And part of that dance workshop, Sharon Green also came. She was the caller. The Romanos were playing. We also did a music workshop with the idea of really working on the pieces that we wanted to put on the CDs. So we were getting input from the Romanos for doing that. Then we come to the second Daisies in the Wind book, which is subtitle sort of Dancing with Friends. I still think of it as Daisies in the Wind. And I think maybe my arm was twisted a little bit by some of the people in our group. You need to put out some more of your dances. Okay, all right, okay. So, and at this point, the Fine Companions were rather in a state of transition. People had come and gone, and so we thought, well, let's see about getting someone else to record the music for us. So I thought, well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And I wrote to Robin and said, okay, so do you think you might be interested in recording some of my tunes? Anyway, she got back to me quite quickly and said, well, send us some, we'll take a look. And so that's what happened. They sent some, I sent them, they said, yes, we're interested. And so it happened. And that led to them coming the next spring. And so oh, right, I keep on forgetting, I'm sorry. Back on 6, do we want to go back to 6? Do the clip of Stars?
We do want to.
Okay,
Stars in the Heavens. Some of these choreographies are wonderful, and I haven't danced most of these that you're going to show. So yes, we definitely want to do that.
Okay, so going back to, this is in the first volume, Stars in the Heavens, volume 6, Stars in the Heavens. All right, okay. So I have no idea how we're doing for time. I don't have a watch. Do we have, do we have time to play that one again and just talk about the dance a bit or no?
How about we do that in the after talk and we show
Sure.
the other clip? And
Yep, for
then
sure.
if we have time at the end of thing 5, we will slip some more in.
Okay, so now we have the Romanos agreeing to record some more of my tunes. And so we have another auction so that we can afford to bring them to Winnipeg. No, actually, we had the auction before we brought them to Winnipeg, get these things straight, so that we could actually afford to pay them to do the CD. So we had another auction. Our group really comes together at times like this, and we just like raised $5,000 or something in one night. It was it was incredible, or one afternoon. Anyway, so they did the recording in August, and one of the pieces from that is Roger's Whimsy. Thank you. So that's a really beautiful space for doing those videos. That happens to be 55 plus, that's what it is. And it's actually downtown, and that's part of their amenities room, but you've got all the plants and everything behind it. So it's really a great place, and we get to do quite a bit of video recording there. And all the video recording that's been done has been done by one of our members, Roddy Thorlifson. So he's the one who lugs all the equipment, sets it all up, unpacks it from there, takes it all home, and then does stuff on his computer to produce what you just saw. So we say thank you to Roddy. That's fabulous. Anyway, so here we are after the Romanos have done it. Now we're going to have, well, we have to have a CD launch, of course. We have to have a CD launch. So in April of 2017, we bring the Romanos and we bring Sharon back again. And we have a dance weekend, and on the Saturday night, we have the CD launch. So I think, I'm trying to look at my notes here, we do have this fabulous picture that we want to show. So this was actually at the launch, and you'll see that people are in costume. Now, some of these people own their own costume. I think that is mostly Dan's. These two dresses are owned and were created by Robert, who he joined our group in the 1980s and had not done anything with costuming before that. And so since that time just has become so knowledgeable and so creative. If we need something in terms of costume, we know that we can go to Robert, and he's always willing to give us a hand, which is really wonderful. So at the launch itself, the evening was a mix of performance and dancing. So we were at a Unitarian church, and they have a really great space that worked really well for both the performance and for the dancing. We started with the Romanos did some playing. And
Sorry.
it's all right. We did some dancing. No worries. We're just not quite there, but really soon. So we had one team was in those gowns that you just saw, and they were dancing dances that were more in the style of the 16, 17, and maybe even into the 1800s. I think those costumes were probably 1700 somethings. Robert would know for sure. I should have asked him. And then some of the dances are, I didn't think really suited being in those kinds of costumes. And so we managed to get together a team of 10 young dancers, and they learned some of the other dances and showed them. So I guess, so we're going to do, yeah, let's do the CD launch clip right now. Sure. All right, thank you. So that's a night that we'll remember. And after the concert part, then that's really the church part, and it's attached to this old mansion, and we had the whole downstairs. So while we cleared off all the chairs, everybody who'd been there went into the other part of the house, and there's a dining room and a sitting room and a sunroom. So the Romanos went and signed CDs, and people could eat and drink while we cleared away all those chairs, and then people came back. The Romanos played some more, and I called some dances. So it was a really fun evening. And then we get to something else.
I'm sorry.
It's all
We're
right.
going to show that really great video that you guys don't want to miss. So come into the after talk. We're going to show that in the after talk.
The next one?
The last video in this section, so that we can move in.
Okay, sure. Yep.
Great.
So are we moving on then? Is that what we're doing?
We are.
Okay,
We are.
good. All right.
Okay, great. So thing number 4, sharing.
Yes, sharing. So as you can tell, we really love English country dancing. And we, over the years, actually really from the very beginning, have shared what we do with the wider community, not just the English country dance community. And so in the early years, we danced with in Folklorama. Folklorama is this big multicultural festival that happens every summer, except for this summer. It's been going on for 50 years. This is a picture from the Festival of Nations, which also, this festival used to happen in smaller outlying places in Manitoba. So I think there must have been at least 4 or 5 different small communities that would host a sort of mini Festival of Nations. And so we were involved with that for quite a number of years. And this is one year when we were obviously at Crystal City, and we were part of their festival. So that was a pretty small festival compared to Folklorama. We don't actually have a picture from Folklorama. So that was just one of the summer festivals. And then also in Winnipeg, we have something that it's not happening anymore in terms of a market. I think that whole market idea has now moved out to St. Norbert Market. But right in what we call the Exchange District, there used to be a market on Saturdays in the summertime. And so we frequently would dance there. And so we have a picture from the market square too when we danced there. And here we are, much younger than we are now, because this was in probably the 1970s, maybe getting into the 1980s as well. So it's a lovely green space, all old buildings that are around that square. So the square itself is still there, but it's not used in quite the same way anymore. All right, something else then that we've done. One of our members the church was looking to raise money. And so Sue, I'm sure it was Sue's idea, we'll do a fundraiser for the church. And this fundraiser is going to be a fashion show. So what we did was to present, it must have been an hour, probably around about an hour, from medieval all the way through to Edwardian. And we had music and we had dance and we had costume. So obviously this is a huge project. Many people in the group were involved in it in terms of sewing costumes on the night of actually, and people were changing costumes because they were wearing more than one costume. And so we had to have people helping change, script writing, narrating, figuring out, choosing the music, choosing the dances, working on practicing the music, practicing the dances. Anyway, the first one went so well that another one of our members who belonged to a different church said, well, would you be willing to do it a second time? So we did it a second time with, I think, probably a few modifications. But anyway, so that's something else we did in those early years. Another thing we've been involved recently is family dances. And we have a picture just of our family dance group. Unfortunately, we don't have a picture of them dancing, but it gives you a sense of, here we have a circle of the people who were at our family dance. And the format of that family dance, first of all, you could only come if you brought a child. You had to be part of a family. So it could be a grandparent bringing a child, that was fine. Or it could be your neighbor that you've adopted their son and you could bring your neighbor's son, that would be fine. But you could not come as an adult on your own. And we would dance. We had, I'm not seeing him. Anyway, we have a member of our group who's just so good with young people. It's fabulous. And the man who was doing the presentation, part of the evening, we would dance, we would break. And originally, a lot of the people who came to this were people who were homeschoolers. We connected with the Homeschooling Association, and they did some of the advertising. And so we would have some sort of educational component, whether it'd be something about music, something about someone might demonstrate a different kind of dance, that kind of thing. Then also probably 4 or 5 years ago, we started running a dance for seniors at the Good Neighbors Active Living Center. And they're an amazing group of people. They're just fabulous. We started, I think, with about 8 to 10 people, and we've had up to 20 people. So, and they range in age, probably from late 50s to the oldest woman who would be her late 90s, who's just as sharp as can be. And so we have a ball, except for this year we don't. So hopefully we get back to it. Yeah, I know. We will get back to it. Another thing that we've done recently is Winnipeg has something. Actually, I found out the other day, Darlene, I hadn't realized it runs all year is First Friday. I thought First Fridays only ran like from May until October, but apparently they're doing virtual First Fridays right now. So another one of our members works at an art gallery, again in the Exchange District, and they have this beautiful space on the second floor. And so again, we did a combination of demonstration and participation. So this is a picture of people that we got up. I'm not sure what dance they were dancing right there, but we were having a good time. And as you can see, it's just a beautiful space. And we did have 4 young musicians playing for us that night. Here they are. And so they're all members of our group, and Liam and Isla are now playing for us a lot, which is really fabulous. Laura and Lynette are not playing for us so much, but it was great. And all right, moving very along quickly to potluck. Can I move along to potluck?
Sure.
One picture, because we have one picture here. We have members, so in the summertime, we would often have a summer dance. And lately it's been out at this almost urban farm. And here we are in a circle. So these are basically non-dancers and they're just all in that circle, ready to go. All right, so moving on to number 5.
Thing number 5.
Thing number 5.
Life.
is
Go ahead. I'll let you read it.
small, isolated community. So as you can imagine, here we are in Winnipeg and we're in the center of the country. So there are dance groups out on the West Coast and there's quite a number of dance groups in Ontario, but I mean, you can't just go and dance there for a weekend. You need to have a much longer period of time to go and dance. Our closest dance group is Minneapolis, which is like an 8-hour drive. So we do actually do that drive and they sometimes come up and dance with us. So on the downside is we don't have as many opportunities to dance as living in a bigger city closer to other cities that have dance groups. So, that's definitely a downside. But on the plus side is if we want something to happen, we know that we have to make it happen. So we have a very creative, resilient, strong, close-knit group because of the fact that we're so isolated. In the very beginning, how did we get started? And really our beginnings, I think, are thanks certainly partly to CDSS, because what happened in 1974, David Williams, who was very involved in the arts community in Winnipeg, and there used to be an organization, it wasn't the Folk Arts Council, but it was a folk arts committee, and they organized 1 or 2 what they called folkways shows every year. This particular spring, they were going to be organizing a British folkways show. David had been to Pinewoods, and a friend of his, John Trevennan, had also been to Pinewoods to English Week. And so he said, we have to have some English country dancing. And so it happened. And John basically organized the whole thing. So I think we had 4 or 5 couples. We danced, I think, Roughy Tufty and Shrewsbury Lasses. John's fiance was an elementary school teacher. And so we had children, they learned a maypole dance. It was also the beginning of the Village Green Morris team, men's Morris team. And so that was our beginnings. From there, because we loved it so much, we met a few times in the following year, and then we're going, yeah, you know what, we really, really, really like this. And so that, I think it was the fall of 75, we actually met and danced every second week on a regular basis. And we actually, I'll throw in here really fast, we had another really fabulous dance experience. And that was dancing with our symphony orchestra at their Christmas Fantasy show. So that was quite something. And again, we had a team of 10, although there were only 8 of us on stage at one time. So John basically choreographed that whole thing, and we sewed costumes and everything else, and we had a wonderful time. So, and in those early years, we had a lot of support from CDSS because that's where we got our dance materials from. So even though we were small, we knew about the wider dance community, partly because John and David had already been to Pinewoods. CDSS was where we got our materials from. And I think that we realized from the beginning the importance of dancing and dancing with other groups and bringing in other callers. So we would, from about 1981 was the first year we organized a weekend workshop. And the beginning years, we had a workshop and a ball. And after a while, we ended up having we would alternate. We would do a workshop one year and a ball one year. So we had many teachers come. And also there were quite a number of us who did go off to not only weekend dance workshops, but also week-long Pinewoods heydays. So we know how wonderful it is to just go and dance. And one of the joys of that is you just go and dance. And the interesting thing as a caller is you also, oh, okay, so that's interesting. might just take that idea home with me. When you're watching other callers, other teachers, it's always great to pick up how they do things and sort of think, yeah, you know what? I think I could incorporate that into my teaching. So it's a wonderful way to meet people. We also, because we realize the importance of encouraging dancers to go away and dance in other dance communities, we have started it's a Trevennan Williams Founders Scholarship Fund, is something like the official name, which our members can apply for to assist them going to camp, which has been used by quite a number of our members, either a weekend or a week-long camp. In fact, I think Liam went to Heydays, I forget when, a number of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, and he came home from that week and he just goes, it's the best week in my entire life. So he's got the bug, which is great. So we're wrapping up? Just
Yeah.
Before we do that, I have thanks to Village Green, because they're such an amazing group of people. They're a creative, energizing, supportive group who sort of said, yeah, go for it, Liz, do this, do that. And so we help each other out. A very key person is Sue Stanton, who's also been part of the group since the late 70s. So not quite the beginning, but almost the beginning. And Sue's the kind of person who says yes, and then she'll figure out how to do it. And you can be sure if there's something going on, Sue has something to do with it. And I've already mentioned Roddy, who does an amazing amount of work with all these videos, which is fabulous. And we have a group of teachers who are great. So a wonderful group of people. And then I want to extend my thanks to you, Darlene and Lindsay, who just they spend so much time putting this together. Lots of incredible dedication to this amazing project, with lots of attention to detail and being very helpful about how to put the whole thing together. So thank you.
Thank you, Liz. There is so much to chat about. And so I hope you all will come into the after talk, because we didn't get a chance to show this really great video that's lots of fun that I know my people are going to love, and I think you all will too. Let me make a couple of announcements and we'll try to get through this part quickly. I know we're running over a little bit, but I want to let you know the dance instructions and the CDs are available by contacting Liz. The website is being worked on right now. However, once it's finished, all the dance instructions, the sheet music, and videos will be available on that site. Liz really wants the music and dance shared and has made it easily available to get to for anybody who wants it. And we're posting the website link and contact information now. I'm sure it's already posted. To find out more about English country dancing in Canada and where to dance it, check out this website run by June Harmon. That's going to be posted as well. Yes, thank you very much. We do have questions. We did grab them. I have a bunch of questions. I couldn't even think about it. We can't let you go without asking, what's your favorite dance?
Oh, right. Yes. I have to say the same thing that Callie has said. Honestly, you can't only have one favorite English country dance. Mr. Isaac's Maggot obviously is a huge favorite. But then, you've got the whole, we've done, I don't know if you dance Dorset Forehand Reel, but we've done Dorset Forehand Reel and Star. It's a traditional dance. It's fabulous.
I'll email you about it.
Yeah, email me about it. And when I was listening to music, I have danced Stepping Stones. But I was listening to Stepping Stones going, wow, that's another really nice dance.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many.
There is. But it became a fun question to ask right from the beginning. And now you can't let a guest go without asking. So thank you, Liz Goossen, for being on. We're so happy we finally have Canadian friends here. And thank you to my 5 Things team, Lindsay Verbal in the background, Reed Wilson on Zoom, Larry Hansen on Facebook, with my helpers, Kara King and Dan Bilter. Colin Hume maintains an accessible, I just realized there's a typo in that, guys. Colin Hume maintains an accessible index of all our web chats on his website in one place. So go to his website. We've got a list of 47 of them, plus this one that people we've had on since March 2020. I can't believe it's been going so long. But a lot of you have said, how about having Sharon Green on or David Millstone? And we already have them on. So go and check that list. And a big thank you to folks who have sending in donations to our group, the Historical Tea and Dance Society. It's very appreciated because there are operational expenses. So it really does help. We are putting your money to good use. We are posting the After Talk link now. There is a link to our Dropbox folder. We always put the chat in there. It takes a day or two before it gets there, but we always put the chat because we know some of you can't grab it and you want to get these links. So we are doing that for you. Next week, we have Boston in the house. We have Barbara Finney. So we're looking forward to her. She's from the Boston Center English Country Dancers, and that's going to be very interesting. Coming this Saturday, we are having a Jane Austen Regency era concert on historical instruments. It's 10 a.m. in the morning Pacific time. Go to our website to find out more, the Facebook page for it. The Zoom registration is still open. It's being offered free of charge with donations to the wonderful musicians. So you can find out more about that. Join us for tea time on Thursdays, 5 p.m. Pacific. It's a fun hour plus a little bit more, just with friends hanging out. It's like going to coffee, meeting your friends down at the coffee shop, except now we're on Zoom. So you can go to our Historical Tea and Dance Friends page and find that post just before 5 o'clock on Thursday, or email us for it. For donations, Liz would like to encourage listeners to donate to their choice of either the Scholarship Fund of Village Green or Country Dance and Song Society. We are doing something a little tiny bit different. We are showing a wonderful Village Green video at the end, and then it's only a minute long, and at the end of that, we're going to post the typical screen that gives you all the donation information. We will see you all in the After Talk in 2 minutes. We'll see you real soon. Come to the After Talk. You won't want to miss this fun video that we're going to show. Bye.